Well, British troops have killed hundreds of villagers in war-torn Afghanistan pointlessly. That is what a former British Army officer has revealed. Major Richard Stretfield says British snipers killed Afghans, quote, in a turkey shoot. He has condemned what he called tactics that led to the repetitive slaughter of villagers. Stretfield says people who were targeted were in fact supposed to be protected by British troops in Afghanistan. Soldiers based in the southern Helmand province were permitted to open fire on anyone approaching their bases while carrying a weapon. But Stretfield says many of those shot never posed a risk to British forces. To discuss that further, we're now joined by Faiz Khurshid, Press TV's correspondent, who's joining us live now from the Afghan capital, Kabul. Faiz, what have reactions been like to this statement in Kabul?
Well, I talked with people inside the Afghan government about what Major Richard is saying, that British forces killed civilians in Helmand, what he calls in Turkey shoot, and the Afghan government officials are telling us that they would fully investigate this new allegation of civilian deaths. Richard was himself commanding a company of British troops in Helmand, and now Afghan government officials want to know if he is an eyewitness. So there are still a lot of questions remain unanswered when it comes to Turkish shooting by British troops in Helmand province. Now, generally speaking, civilian casualties are rapidly rising in Afghanistan, and the United Nations office in this country has repeatedly blamed all warring parties for mounting civilian deaths in this country. And this is a very sensitive issue of the U.S. war in Afghanistan.
And Faiz, we always speak about the U.S. role in civilian casualties, but what has the British track record been in Afghanistan?
Well, British troops are still stationed in Helmand province. It's in the south, and their operations continue. And I can say that civilians have been harmed by the British troops as well. It was not only civilians, but Afghan forces as well. And these civilian casualties caused a deep rift between Kabul and London, and the Afghan President Hamid Karzai has repeatedly called on foreign troops on the ground to avoid civilian deaths. But it has not helped very much, because civilian deaths continue to rise, and many here in Kabul now believe that these civilian deaths have greatly angered the people and caused more deep rifts between the local people and the government. Now, the Afghan President Hamid Karzai has recently promised to bridge that gap that exists between the government and the local people, but he has not been quite successful to do that. Let's not forget, it's also the Taliban militants that continue to indiscriminately kill civilians in this country. And today we see that a large number of people, including journalists and reporters, have gathered here in Kabul shouting slogans against the Taliban militants, because these people believe that it's also the Taliban who continue to kill civilians. Just a few days ago, on the eve of New Year here in Kabul, a journalist, his family, his kids were all shot by the Taliban militants from a very close range, and these mounting civilian deaths have now angered the Afghan people very much.
Okay, Faiz, thanks very much for that.